The American Constitutional Republic, affairs of state in Oklahoma, the beliefs, the principles, the opinions and views of people just like me. This is 3D Politics. Joining us every Monday night, as usual, right here on Facebook Live, creator and curator of SoonerPolitics.org, David Van. He's an expert on Oklahoma state government, here to enlighten us every week. Usually we have David Oldham, the founder and scholar at constitutionalgrounds.com, but no, not tonight. He's out there. We're going to talk about that. I do have some comments from him. And me, your fine host, your verbal Viking, comedian, and political humorist, father of five, former mayoral candidate, Tommy McKay. Here we go, kids. Van, I'm glad you could join us. Let's just set it up real fast. Tonight, Rhonda Vilmont Smith. She's already in the waiting room. We're going to bring her on as soon as I set this up. She is the Tulsa County GOP chair. She's going to update us on all things going on GOP at the county. Also at 7:30, bottom of the hour, we've got David Dambroso, who's lined up and scheduled to join us at the bottom of the hour. We want to promote. Also, there's more scandal and lawsuits. Van will be talking about Mike Hunter and his abusive prosecution trial, and the abusive prosecution charge, and Daniel Holtzclaw trial judge corruption, on and on and on. And of course, at the bottom of the hour, we are going to parse 5 minutes of Vanessa Hall Harper. She's District 1 Tulsa City Council and Tulsa City Council, or District 1, and she is also the sitting council chair of Tulsa. We have several comments at the bottom of the hour. But without further ado, let's bring in and admit to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rhonda Vilmont Smith joining the Tulsa headquarters. Let's make sure we can also hear. There's a stalker behind you, by the way. Gigantic man sneaking up behind you. Look at
the man.
So yell loud because you can hardly hear over me.
Okay, well, does this make it any better?
A lot better. Yeah, that's a lot better.
Okay, what about, can I just leave it right there? Does that help?
That'll be fine. We'll just listen, and then it'll be easier to interrupt. So, so what have you just, first of all, you just rushed back from a meeting. Can you tell us what you've been and what's been going on, or do you want to move to the other stuff?
Sure. No, I mean, we were just at a rally in opposition to the Tulsa Public Schools school bond, which we're voting on tomorrow, June 8th. A group of parents and a number of Republicans were out there. We just were waving signs and letting people know that there's a vote tomorrow, and we're encouraging them to vote no.
Okay, so did you have, yes, sir, Van.
Yeah, Rhonda, I just caught some of that live on channel 23. I think I heard right. One of the school board members was out there agreeing with you to vote no.
Yes. Janetta is who was out there, and she just said that it's her first time. She says, I'm a senior citizen. She says, this is the first time in my lifetime that I will ever vote no on a bond issue.
All right.
Wow. So, yeah.
Even the school board members are saying no.
That's right. Well, that's right. Well, David, here's the thing. Yeah. You look at it, in 2015, we had the $415 million school bond that at that time was the largest school bond in Oklahoma history to ever be passed.
Yep.
And all they did was they mirrored it. They took the same bond. They shaved off $1 million so that they could say it was a little less than what it was last time.
Yeah.
And then, and then threw it at everybody on June 8th, when people are concerned about where their children are going to be spending the summer, or they're on vacation. So, it's not really, they always pick these inopportune times.
Oh, yeah.
I would have a question for him. if you want my money, is it to educate the children, or are you going to put together another survey to ask me what I want when you finally come together to have a meeting to prepare for the meeting
Well,
to guess when you're going to get the survey out to who, you know?
right. Well, and what they do is, even with the survey, you know, they say that they're going to use all this money in a certain way, but in the end, if they choose not to, they can reallocate those funds. And you don't have any say in it. And I mean, there are parents out there that are angry because they supported the 2015 school bond, knowing that their school was going to benefit through renovations and things. And then their schools were, they were renovated and then they were shut down.
Yes.
Well, that's what they did back in the 1990, I think it was 95 school bond. They retrofitted 5 or 6 different buildings, Tulsa Public Schools. It was a $90 million package. They split it between technologies and building infrastructure because we were going to retrofit these buildings for the new up and coming 21st century. Once they were retrofitted, they sold them out from underneath the taxpayers. So we get screwed coming and going. But my point is, if we're paying for education, why are we buying counselors and surveys? The Tulsa Public Schools, for at least for sure, has no idea what they're doing. They continue to ask the parents, what do you want us to do? What do you guys want us to do? Well, what the hell are we giving you money for if all you're going to do is ask us what we want?
And can I quantify that for a second? I took the Tulsa Public Schools website saying that they spend annually about $630 million. That's about 2/3 of $1 billion. Now, you divide that by the 3,400 students, and it comes to $18,000 a year per kid. Now, Tom, I also looked at Bishop Kelly. I think you're a proud parent of a Bishop Kelly kid. It's less than half that to go to Bishop Kelly. Why are we spending double what it costs to get a Bishop Kelly education, and we're certainly not getting a Bishop Kelly education?
No, not at all.
Yeah. So.
No, it's not even getting close. And when you start looking at their agenda and what they're starting to push with the critical race theory and LGBT, you know, it's like, it's time for parents to stand up and just say enough is enough. A no vote tomorrow should be a vote of no confidence.
Okay, so let's
the leadership of Tulsa Public Schools.
Yeah, let's close this out and talk about real quick. So they got to get out and vote no on the TPS bond issue tomorrow. And then there's a 9/12 meeting on this Thursday. It's a panel discussion about critical race theory, Juneteenth, BLM, etc. A guest, C.L. Bryant from Washington, D.C. Tell us about that coming up on Thursday, how people can get there to see it.
Well, you just need to show up. It's our meetings that were now being held at the embassy, which is the former Westlake Assembly of God at 7100 East 31st Street. We've got Reverend C.L. Bryant coming in from Freedom Works. Yeah. And he's going to moderate the panel. And on the panel, we're very excited to have Tulsa's own Eddie Huff.
All right.
We're also going to, hang on, I'm drawing a blank. We're going to have Lisa Hull there, and we're having Twan Jones.
Okay.
So we're going to have some good.
Twan Jones, for those of us that may be less informed.
Oh, yeah. Well, I worked with Twan Jones back against Vision 2. He is not a Republican. He's a Democrat, or at least he was last I heard. I think he was active in the Democrat Party. But he is now pastoring a church, and I reached out to him because I thought, you know, if we're going to really take and try to offer a number of different views on critical race theory and why it's important, then it's important to reach out to those types of people. And since Tulsa 912 is a nonpartisan organization, we don't have any issue with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm partisan. I still want to have the discussion.
Yeah,
I just want to say, I met C.L. Bryant up in Chicago about 5 years ago. You will not fall asleep at one of his meetings. In fact, flying back, my last leg, I sat next on the plane with his bishop. And his bishop said the same thing about CL. One of his most famous lines was, "I'm still trying to get the white folk to get off the plantation." That's one of his famous
That's
lines.
true. That's true.
Yeah, we got to get off
So
the
he's,
government
and listen,
plantation.
that's the one thing about CL is by the time he ends up speaking, you're standing up, you're a proud American, and you're going to go fight whatever battle it is that he's put on your plate.
Yeah, definitely worth your time.
Yeah. So I'd encourage everybody, come on out. It's going to be at the embassy Thursday, June 10th, and it starts at 6:30 p.m. and the embassy is located at 7100 East 31st Street.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Great facility.
So now we know to come out and see that panel discussion on Thursday. Now, Rhonda, you just recently moved into the position. I know you've always been active. I mean, always, a long time to a long time.
Long time.
What I'm saying is you've been active before you took over the county GOP chair
Yes, sir.
position. And so now that you're newly installed in that position, what have been the immediate things you found that you liked, that you changed, that you're working on now? I mean, essentially, now that you hit the ground, what are you finding now that you're seated and moving down the path?
I'm finding that people are very excited about what's coming up. In Tulsa County, we have the opportunity to, of course, defeat the school bond tomorrow. And then our goals are to take both of the school board seats that are open in Tulsa Public Schools that will be up for re-election next February. Right. And then from there, we plan on going ahead and going forward and taking at least a couple of the city council seats in Tulsa, because if all the surrounding areas don't have any city council races, only Tulsa does, and all 9 seats are up for re-election.
Wow. And just having heard District 1's sitting city councilor, I mean, we have some real adjutants at the city council.
Yeah.
And so it's a real problem. Even, I mean, partisan is one thing, right, but we're getting to the point where inciting and encouraging unrest.
It's kind of race baiting in a way, wouldn't you say?
Haters.
Yeah.
It's really gone off the edge.
Instead of, but what's so frustrating is the very people that keep saying, oh, we've got to get along and we've got to do all this. They're the very ones that are out there poking the bear.
Yeah.
And so you got to quit poking the bear.
Yeah. Rabble rousers. Yep.
So now
I think people call me that too, David.
What's that?
I said, I think people call me that too.
Oh, you're the chairman of what's happening now.
So did you find we're coming up on a warning here in just a minute, so don't be afraid when you get interrupted. But when you got to the seat, was it like John Taffer on Bar Rescue, like, oh my gosh, you gotta clean this kitchen? Or was it more like, okay, there's some good stuff here? Was there good stuff that you found at all?
Well, I'll tell you what I found. I found that there are a lot of people that have a lot of great ideas. And what I had to kind of do was pick through and determine what my goals for the party are for the next year and a half. Okay. And so we did that. I sat down and came up with a strategy and a means of being able to determine whether we're being successful or not. So I just set up with 3 main points, which is, of course, to grow the precincts, and then do you need to, I'm waiting for you.
I'm trying to learn how to not warn you, but you're listening to Rhonda V. Smith, the county GOP chair right here in Tulsa, waxing eloquent about stopping the TPS bond tomorrow. At the bottom of the hour, we've got David Dambroso going to join us for comments concerning Vanessa Hall Harper, District 1 City Councilor. But go on, Rhonda, tell us about the goals you have that you just talked about setting for the county GOP.
We plan on growing the precincts. We are very fortunate in the fact that we have about 60% of our precincts filled. Nice. I think Well, and then, but my goal is to be at 75 or 80. So we have 259, we have 158 filled, which means that we have 101 that are orphaned precincts. And I think that number has probably changed since the last time we talked. I just haven't updated my numbers because I've had a number of people that reach out and want to be precinct chairman.
Gotcha.
The
What was the
second,
comment?
sorry.
Van had a comment. Van?
Yeah, Rhonda, just elaborate on that. At the Nigel Farage meeting, somebody brought up that issue and you indicated something. You said you kind of have a process. Now, it's going to take the executive committee making the official finding that allows you to appoint interim chairs of the precincts that are vacant, right?
Right. No,
Yeah.
that's right. And that's what I plan on doing. But I've
Yeah.
had people, like I say, people have reached out and stated that they want
Good.
to be part of the, be a precinct chair. And if it's available, then I don't think that the executive committee is going to have any problem
No.
with seating.
Oh, just to help people be patient, what kind of time frame do you think this is going to involve to do it properly?
Well, I have executive meetings once a month.
Yeah.
Right now, what I'm doing is we're switching. We're going to be using voter gravity.
Yeah.
And so I'm not doing anything until we get some people trained in voter gravity to be able to train other people. So I believe in taking one step at a time.
Okay.
And not rushing into something because I end up with a big mess when I rush into things.
Okay. So classes are this training's part of that process of filling that then, right?
Right. That's gonna what we're gonna do is because it's gonna change the way that precinct chairs do business.
Okay.
With their precinct lists and things, they're no longer gonna need the lists. Everything's gonna be in their phones or their tablets.
Gotcha.
Our message is going to be the same. When
Okay.
we go out and talk to people, it's going to be the same. So I'm taking my time. I selected voter gravity after looking at a number of different programs. And I do my first training tomorrow afternoon on that.
Okay.
So so we're still, a few weeks out, but it's coming together.
Now,
So you'll let us.
Hold on, Van. I mean, this is rolling downhill real fast for the week.
Yeah.
So you're training Rhonda on voter gravity?
Right. I am going to be trained on I begin my training tomorrow afternoon on voter gravity, which is an application for data management.
Now, no, thank you. An application for data management, and it's called voter gravity. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so it's going to give
I
you
knew that, but I got
list.
people, they're
Tom.
just blowing me. I already knew that.
No, Tom, that's great. You gotta, because some people just don't know the
Some people
jargon that we
can't
fall
talk.
into.
I know.
But,
I'm sorry. I just
No, I
assumed.
have to ask, because I really didn't know that. Voter gravity. Hey, because voter gravity, this is totally stream of consciousness. We got plenty of time. What do you think about ranked choice voting? Is that right, Van? Ranked choice voting?
Oh yeah, that's Michael Bates' favorite instant
What do you-
runoff. Yeah, we're not fans of that.
Correct. We don't even need to talk about it. Okay. You just went dark on me. Hell no.
We
No,
like our
good enough.
questions being simple and one at a
Hey,
time.
that was fast. So real quick, so I can argue with the children later. Why is it a bad idea? What is it functionally? I mean, without going, philosophically
I
at the
think it's
10,000
very
feet level. Why?
confusing. I think it's very confusing to the people that are participating in that
It
type
is
of an
a lot.
election. And they don't understand the ranking. It's people understand yes or no, one or the other. Or that if you've got 3 candidates and nobody gets the majority, then it goes to a runoff between the top 2. I mean, it's a process that so many, including myself, find it very difficult to understand.
So let me just agree and end that conversation that the philosophical existential reality is, even if you understand the rank choice voting and everybody knows what they're doing, the litmus test, yes or no, is quite different than the gradient scale. And if you purposefully go for the gradient scale, even if you know what you're doing, you'll always drive the car down the middle of the road instead of picking a side. And that's always dangerous, no matter which.
No, you're exactly right. Now,
pick a direction, people.
We use that method the first time that I was elected to be a delegate to the convention. So I was in favor of it at that time.
Whoops.
Well,
I'm teasing.
you know,
No.
the strongest arguments for it become the strongest arguments against it, because yeah, that convention, 2012 first district convention, and you turned in your ballot once, you know, but then you waited 4 or 5 hours, and then we didn't really find out until we got on the internet, and then nobody could challenge the validity of it because we already had gone home.
It's like an episode of Star Trek. They put the little wafer in the slot, and the machine blinks the lights. You owe $60. You know, it's great.
Yeah. So no, I do not. I do not stand in favor of rank.
I don't either, because you never heard a moderate say, "Come on, some of you, follow me around over here at a speed that's not fast or slow."
It's just too confusing for people.
Moderation. It's 100% moderation.
The only time I could see it being feasible is if you only have the attention of the voter base for a short little bit, and you got one ballot, and you can't have them hang around for the second round and the third round, the fourth round, and everybody's got to be okay with it.
Yeah.
And that's just such a rare circumstance.
Yeah, it's a communal idea to begin with. It's
now I will say this. I'm all for trying something once.
Yeah.
You know, we tried the precinct meeting and the convention all in one day.
Yeah.
Not happening again.
No.
Sometimes the children suffer from that concept. I remember in 7th grade, they put all the children into an open room classes.
And I got to say to everybody listening out there that was part of that Tulsa County Convention, we got to extend a lot of grace, because that had to be planned months in advance when you didn't know what the COVID realities were going to be. No. So I'm giving a lot of grace to Bob Jack for
and like I said, it works great in small counties.
Yeah.
But for Tulsa County, and with the unusually high attendance that we had, you know, that was out of the ordinary. It just ended up being a big mess.
Yeah, we talked so long, we're making it sound almost plausible. We've got to kill it.
Hey, do you not want to hear about the rest of my goals?
I do. Let's tell everybody. Okay, yes, please, we do. Yes.
Well, after we defeat this bond tomorrow, we plan on taking the two seats that are open in the school board in Tulsa Public Schools.
Okay.
And then we plan on going from there to take at least 2 additional city council seats in Tulsa.
Let's talk. How much can you tell us about school board seats, did you say?
Yeah.
And how does somebody, because that's my kind of resonant frequency is education.
Okay.
And what does somebody do? Not me, but what does somebody do to get involved in the school board thing?
You mean if they want to run for school board?
Right.
Well, they need to be in the district that they're running, and so it's ward or districts 4 and 7 that are up. I think that's one is South Tulsa and one's more East Tulsa.
Okay.
And you, of course, just need to be a registered Republican to get in, or registered anything, actually, because they're nonpartisan races, which allows for the party to actually get involved in the process, because I can't get involved in a state race, or the party can't, Tulsa party can't, but we can get involved in municipal races.
Nice.
And so we do plan on being very involved, and we plan on starting by taking back the school board, taking those 2 seats on the school board, and taking an additional at least 2 seats on the city council.
Rhonda, can I ask, are you thinking of maybe an ad hoc committee to vet the different candidates?
I am.
Okay, good.
I am, so that we get behind one candidate. Yeah. Because that's the only way we're going to win.
Sure.
I've seen a lot of what look like great candidates rise in the thing and then just fade away.
Now, we came close. Rhonda was very involved helping Nicole Nixon, and she was the top vote getter in the first round, but then the second round, they just nixed us, So.
Well, but that's because if you'll notice, David, you get, they're going to throw a number of candidates in there to muddy the waters.
Yeah.
We have to stay focused.
Yeah.
We can't allow, I mean, that's great if other candidates want to get in, but
Yeah.
our focus has to be on the candidate that we choose to get behind. And that's where we need to direct our resources and our people.
Right, focus
So,
message.
jungle primary is what it's called. You know?
Yep. And so we just need to be king of the jungle.
We got to plow the road for one, right?
That's right.
That's right.
And that's my goal.
So-
Because that's the only way I see that we're ever going to win
Sure.
is by doing something like that.
And
Because even the other side will throw people in to the race just to muddy the waters.
just to split the vote. So 4 and 7 in the school districts. And then what about city council districts that you're looking at? What's available there?
Well, city council, we've got that are Republicans. We've got Phil Lakin. We've got Jamie Fowler and Jeannie Q. So that's 3. If we can keep them in office, if they all choose to run as Republicans, and we gain 2 more, we'll have a majority in the city council. Now, you know, some of them aren't as Republican as we would like for them to be.
Thank
but
you.
But I think it gives them a little more cover if you've got more in there that are on your side. And as you were saying, based on District 1 city councilor, we need to have some stronger conservative voices there.
Okay, Tom, real quick here. I'm just going to share this map so people can see. District 7 is south of Skelly Drive, roughly. I'm being very rough about it. Memorial High School area. And then the East Central area is District 4. So just want people to get a visual of that. So thank you.
So that'll help. Yeah. And if anybody's interested in running, please contact me. We want to sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I've turned the chairman's office is a war room. So I've gotten rid of a lot of stuff out of the office, cleared it out. On the walls, I've got 2 big whiteboards and I have maps. And we are going to have a plan and we're going to work the plan and we're going to win.
So let me ask you this, having run against GT Bynum in the 2016 mayoral race, he had name recognition and I wasn't even allowed to define myself as a Republican because it's nonpartisan race. How does Phil Lakin being Republican reflect at all on this watered down nonpartisan race?
Well, here's the thing. He's also going to, as far as him being a Republican, it's just, I'm just going to count it as a W on our side. There's nobody that's going to run against him that I know of. And
so this gets in. So, I mean, unfortunately, you're in a position as, a captain of the ship at this point to have to pick a course. And just like we said, you got a litmus test one way or the other. I'm not a big fan of any person on the city council. I just am not.
I get it.
And so I'm typically voting for the person and the policy, not I don't vote for women because they're women or soldiers because they're soldiers. I vote for policy and person. And so but I see the position you're in. If you all you have is an R and a D to pick from, you're like, okay, well, there's a silver lining. So
well, but here's the thing, Tom. I could go after all 9 of those seats, and then what's going to happen?
No, okay, I get you.
I'm not going to win.
I think you're doing the right thing.
So we eat that elephant one bite at a time.
That's
there you go.
And so because he's going to be running for not governor, he's going to be running for mayor here in a couple of years.
Lakin.
Oh
my gosh. You're listening to Rhonda Vilmont Smith, County GOP chair right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, joining David Vann from Soonerpolitics.org and me, Tommy McKay, your fine host. We're coming up at the bottom of the hour, so we got about a minute before we get out of here. What else do you want to tell the people before we get out?
I just want to tell them, if you're not involved in the party and you're in Tulsa, please go to tulsagop.org, sign up for our newsletters, get involved. There's a place for you somewhere. We'll figure out what that place is and get you involved.
And this Thursday, the panel discussion with C.L. Bryant from Washington, D.C.
Yes, sir.
Make
At
sure-
the Embassy, 7100 East 31st Street, starts at 6:30 p.m. Everyone's welcome.
Rhonda, I love you. Thanks for
I
being
love
here.
you too. You guys take
We'll see
care.
you next time.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
She's out of here. Thank you to Rhonda V. Smith. Let's set it up again. Take yourself out, Van.
All righty.
You're listening to 3D Politics every Monday night on Facebook Live. Trust me. The American Constitutional Republic. Affairs of state in Oklahoma, my country. The beliefs, principles, opinions, and views of people just like me. This is 3D Politics. Joining us every week, and once again, David Van, creator and curator of SoonerPolitics.org. And your fine host, your verbal Viking, Tommy McKay, your fine and fantastic political humorist. We are missing tonight David Oldham, our founder and scholar at constitutionalgrounds.com. He is in Oklahoma City speaking with a speaking engagement.
Yeah.
However, I want to also remind everybody, constitutionalgrounds.com also has an event coming up at the end of the week.
Yeah.
I'm trying to separate these dates to remember by the break. But if you're paying attention to last segment, you'll know when to catch Rhonda's meeting with the 912. But June 11th is a Friday. It's the end of this week, Friday. Constitutionalgrounds.com is offering their what is it? It's their they've got their event, their class again, right there at constitutionalgrounds.com. Find those guys. Now, we are supposed to be getting David Dambroso. If he shows up, we'll have him join us.
Yep. I just got a text. He said he's on his way.
All right, he's on his way. But real quickly to set up, I'm all excited about this evening's discussion about Vanessa Hall Harper. She really hooked me. When I heard her on KRMG to set this up. Dan Potter from KRMG as the KRMG.
I think she gored you.
Wow. KRMG has the KRMG Morning News with Dan Potter. Now, Dan Potter's the guy that has the Dan Potter's pimp roll payout. Sally bent over and got $50. Anyway, Potter's pimp roll payout is what I call it. But Dan Potter had Vanessa Hall Harper on. She had like 3 or 4 segments. I accidentally caught segment 2 and 3 and just was lit on fire. She violates the FCC prohibition on profanity on the air. In my opinion, she's pushing a radical authoritarian agenda. We're gonna push over 5 minutes. We're gonna parse every sentence of a 5-minute segment from Vanessa Hall Harper. So she just recently, this is from 6/2 this year. This is just June 2nd. From Vote for Vanessa, the resolution she proposed is and got passed, is an apology and commitment from the city of Tulsa. It's not a reparations package. It's about equity. Now, I'll try to go on before I wax. It's solely to create a vehicle, which equals reparations package, to create an infrastructure for good policies. It will benefit Black Tulsans. Yes, sir.
Is GT Bynum, Mayor Bynum, going to let Bruce Start decide that issue as well?
Fake news. So I just
you got to say
CNN, you're fake news. You have an agenda.
Okay.
So she does. Right. She has a radical authoritarian agenda that's not at all constitutional, by the way. Anyway, she doesn't know what the policies will look like or how they'll work. But people are affected from system racism is what it's here. I just write from her page. System race. I'm sure it's a typo. She probably means systematic. However, let it be clear, I strongly support reparations. However, let it be clear, I strongly support reparations and the continued efforts from community members for reparations. I will need your help more than ever to push this regulation. She did get the resolution through. Yes, sir.
Has she paid reparations for all those windows that were broken last summer in Tulsa?
I mean, as I went to town on some Facebook arguments, one of the things I said was social mathematics. The N word is equal to the R word, because to slur someone that looks different than you by calling in the R word is to be racist. They say, sure, you're white, you can't understand, which is literally telling me that I'm somehow, and I'm not even white, I'm the woo-woo Indian, damn it.
Well, she's basically saying not only are you a racist, you're a retarded racist, because you don't know better.
If I hadn't had 3 older sisters, I wouldn't have been called worse already.
Yeah.
My attitude is this concept of reparations is based in covetousness, jealousy, and envy, all sins of the flesh. Retaliation is vengeance and immoral, and they're basing this all on morality. And it's all, anybody who prioritizes group association above individual personhood is and can be a racist. So let's get on with, now here's the 4 areas I'm going to be pointing out on these vocal, I've got little audio cues that we're going to go by. This is from Dan Potter on KRMG Morning News, June 3rd, this week. And I say she's pushing a radical authoritarian agenda. She's inciting unrest. She's disturbing the peace of the community. She's using angry voice and profanity of language. She is exacerbating racial differences. She's calling in reinforcements, drawing battle lines, undermining the rule of law of the U.S. Constitution and judicial system. But she starts out eloquently like this. And remember, it takes a second for Ethel to roll. Roll, Ethel.
But then the hard part, the hard question is where the rubber really meets the road is.
Okay, now that I got my sound person Ethel going, here is how I just got. This is from the second. We came in late on this, and so here she goes.
Then the hard part, the hard question is where the rubber really meets the road is when who in power is going to make those decisions that's going to truly address inequities.
Now, Van, I have a hard time starting and stopping, and this could take all night, but right there, who in power will make the decision? See the authoritarian agenda right off the bat. Who in power?
When who in power is going to make those decisions that's going to truly address inequities.
So truly, of course, is a subjective term and inequity. But
yeah,
she doesn't. Go ahead.
It's a loaded proposition. You're assuming that anybody has any responsibility to anybody anymore. And nobody does.
Right.
I'm sorry. You know what? In our Constitution, we've got something called statute of limitations. You got an issue, you got to bring it up at a certain time. Okay. And then you got to go after the people who are actually the ones responsible, because they can not only be held criminally responsible, but civilly responsible. Okay. Let's face it, who's going to make reparations to whom for, well, we just had a situation here with OU. They've got a painting there that the Nazis stole from a Jewish woman's family in France. And you know what? They finally now, 70 some years later, are giving it back to the family.
But the level of
that's how you do reparations. You go to whose property, who took it, and you make them give it back.
The level of intelligence that you'll get from the argument is that that wasn't France when they took it; it was Germany.
Yeah, but,
I mean,
but the point is, you're not making Germany today pay for that painting. It's the people who have your stolen property give it back. Or if whoever, you got witnesses said, yeah, I saw somebody pour gasoline, light a fire to my house. Okay, bring that person in, make them pay.
Okay, she does later. And then there's another portion. I had 10 minutes of audio, and I'm only able to do 5 minutes. But she talks about the reason reparations and their lawyers are angling to use Mike Hunter's winning of the Mike Hunter helped us win the opioid battle, and they're using the opioid class action lawsuit because it literally as their precedent because it has no statute of limitations. Let's bring in our guest at the bottom of the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, let's see if we can bring him in here. We should have David Dambroso joining us as we, there he is. And we'll see if we can get the audio to work. Ladies.
Does it work?
Its work is very low, so turn up your mic to make sure we can hear you. You might have to scream a little bit.
Cranked, all right?
Oh, that's
Can you hear me
perfect.
better?
That's perfect.
Very good.
So talk down like this.
Good to see you, buddy.
Nice to see you. David Dambroso, we're going to get to what you've been doing as soon as we get out of this segment, which could be tomorrow morning. Here's the next clip.
And we're doing work. I will acknowledge that we are doing work, but we have not taken those huge, great steps. We take baby steps. And we just still have a lot of work to do.
Now, one of the things I want to point out here, and we won't belabor it long, but she uses inside of 5 minutes, she uses the word we 30 times. That's 300 seconds. That's the word we every 10 seconds. I would have to go back and pull strings together on a whiteboard to figure out when she's in the white power structure and when she's in the disenfranchised community and when she's just actually part of the creation and part God. Because she's we this and we that, and then we don't get any credit, and then we do some things, but we don't do anything. Okay, so here comes the next one. Vanessa Hall Harper, again,
city councilor
on a sitting chair of the Tulsa City Council on KRMG, 8:46 in the morning on June 3rd. Here she goes with her.
I know there are those on both sides of this issue. Right, we were talking about primarily the white power structure and communities of color, particularly the Black community. There is this issue. Well,
nice. I'll shut up. But here's where I point out, because I consider this to be this is unrest. She's encouraging unrest. She's just drawn the battle lines. White power structure, of which she sits on the city council of the white power structure, and the communities of color. Dambroso, what do you think so far?
This is a warning, Dambroso. You either agree with her or you ain't black.
Now,
you said, when is she not in the white power structure? Well, you're always in the white power structure, right? According to her ideology.
Is that how? Okay, that's how.
Yeah.
So, all right. So anyway, my point about that clip is that she is creating unrest by defining the battle lines.
Yeah.
It's not like she's just ranting, raving, and I'm mad at everybody, and the system works against me. She's saying, here's who's going to fight: the white power structure and
the racists, of course,
Black people. Okay, communities.
We don't get credit for anything. We don't get credit for anything. The problem is the things that we are doing are minimal. But when it comes to taking a stand and taking a step, we systematically do not do those things that the community will say, the disenfranchised community will say, they're serious about this. We take these little baby steps.
Dambroso, please.
What do you think she's talking about? Please clarify for me just a little bit. What do you think she's trying to say?
I've been living on this 5-minute audio for the last 2 days. So what she's saying is, what she and wouldn't you expect the sitting chair of the Tulsa City Council of the second largest city in Oklahoma to be a little more well-spoken, and every other state says not really. I mean, please, can she not?
Is she complaining about the job that she herself is doing? That's what it
as
sounds
an
like.
amazing psychologist guesser. I do intuitive reading. I wouldn't say I'm a psychologist. I'm an intuitive reader. What she's saying is we collectively, as the collective white power structure of which she's part, but fighting against, right? She's got a conflict there, but You're listening to the fantastic analysis of Tommy McKay, your verbal Viking, on Vanessa Harper's interview with Dan Potter on KRNG here just a couple of days ago. Joining us for the first time in a long time, David Dambroso. We're glad to have you. We're also going to talk about what David Dambroso is up to, but Tommy's too on fire to get to tell David Van all about this stuff. So I have no idea what I was saying. Here's what she just said. Oh, yeah, this is the we thing. She says,
you're explaining this power structure. Yeah, she's in the white power structure.
What she's trying to say here is that we collectively don't do anything. We do some things. That is, she does stuff within government to try to do stuff, but it's never big enough. Again, this is why I can point back to she wants a radical authoritarian agenda. She doesn't want to move slowly through government like the founding fathers designed in the Constitution, because all you can do is make baby steps. She needs a radical authoritarian agenda. That's why she's saying we do some stuff, but we just don't do enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it's endemic of leftism.
Right?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, this is it is what progressivism is, right? How far is far enough for progressivism? It's never far enough, right?
Correct.
So it does make, I mean, in a way, it's, broken clock twice a day, right? She's being consistent with progressive ideology that she can never do enough. I mean, if they get every single thing they write down today, all the demands, it still would not be enough for progressivism. You notice this big loop where modern progressives, like as in the year 2021, are mortal enemies of the progressive professors of just 15, 20 years ago, which are still considered radical by the standards of most Americans. They eat their own. It's a giant serpent. It's a never-ending circle of, but it is moving towards the direction of complete annihilation and post-humanism, really, like post-humanity, the existence. This is why humans are bad. Carbon is bad. Carbon life forms are bad. Carbon dioxide's bad. Got to move beyond that. Hey, maybe it'd be really good if we merged with machines, right? Silicon's good. Carbon's bad. Be good if you put a machine right here, maybe some kind of quantum computer in your blood, like patent number 666 determines whether or not you've had your vaccines, and then you can transcend these human bonds, and then progressivism can hit its next notch.
Actually making it sound plausible. You're so damn
It
lucky.
is. I want to say, Dambroso, I salute you on that, because I would compare it much to a significant mental illness called an anxiety disorder. If you've ever cared for a loved one with a very prominent anxiety disorder, their anxiety latches on to one thing, and then as soon as you jump through hoops to fix that thing, then it latches on to something else, and they are never relieved of their anxiety.
It'll never
end. It's very much like this, except this is a willful and malicious condition. They're never satisfied.
They always sell politically.
I'm not convinced it's willful. I'm with you. I don't know that it's willful. For some it is, certainly, but I don't know for all.
Well, at least the mentally ill have an excuse.
I think it is a mental illness. No, really. I mean, I think leftism is pathological among some. I really pity them.
They sell their progressivism through science. And one of the problems with science is that it is essentially, to move quickly, humanistic. That is, they will say, science, just like the mask thing. You need a mask, you don't need a mask. Well, they say, the science changed, which I've continued to make the point, which is why we should never run our politics with medical science. Always run your politics with political science, because medical science, admittedly, is always eventually wrong, which is what you're saying. Maybe we should merge our blood. Maybe we be this, be that. The problem is they sell their progressiveness on a humanistic basis, which humanist ethics, which isn't moored to anything. It's like the Jews wandering around in the desert in a circle, never knowing really what to go. Well, we didn't know that might kill everybody, but it almost killed everybody. But we didn't know that, and science changed. And so they continue
it's bad science too.
Same thing with the libertarians. They live in a world where they believe they can call for a low morality with the bigger group, and then expect a higher morality from their officials, their officials in state. Again, they live on a humanistic ethics is unmoored because it just follows the human culture. It's nothing but populism.
Yeah, it's a moving target. Yeah, it's a moving target. I had a guy, really brilliant guy I used to work with. He is a professor of chemistry, and And I asked him, well, where do you derive your morality from? He said, well, it's the majority norms of society. I said, okay. So you would have been for
Take a majority vote.
Dumping the kids in the oven during the Holocaust, huh? And he said, all right, touche. All right, touche, you got me. I'm not going to debate philosophy with you anymore, Dambroso.
Yeah.
Well, that's honorable.
Sleep at night.
That's pretty good. Okay, back to the what I consider vile comments from the sitting chair of the Tulsa City Council.
Unbelievable.
Yes, please roll tape.
She has more? Oh, God, why? Okay.
More? You better sit back.
We hide behind the law, right? We hide behind policies, which is the very classic definition of institutionalized racism. You create, you allow a culture to exist for years, for hundreds of years, that disenfranchises and dehumanizes people. Then you turn around and create a law and says, oh, we can't do that. And so now you use that same damn law to say, oh, well, we can't treat you any different. After hundreds of years of disenfranchisement, of being devalued, underestimated, and marginalized, then you turn around and use the law to say we can't do anything about it. That's institutionalized. That is systemic racism at its best. And that is what we're dealing with.
Listen to this last part.
In the community, in the
where?
state, and in the country.
In the community, in the state, and in the country. She says we're dealing with this issue in the community, the state, and the country. This woman is unhinged.
Well, if it's systematic, I mean, yeah, it'd have to be everywhere. It has to be in the vacuum of space somewhere too,
I mean, let's take the very first thing she said was that developed policy put in place is inherently racism in and of itself. So you can't have policy. You got to just do whatever she and the mob
I've got to
want.
give her points. This is shockingly consistent for a leftist diatribe because she's actually conforming to her own progressive and the main progressive views of the future. Well, so let's travel to the future 10 years. So 15 years ago, LGBT, there wasn't a T on it, right? And trans, that was insane. Minor attracted persons, well, that was pedophilia. That's not part of it. So now the LGBT class of 15 years ago, they're the massive bigots. What you have to understand, and you do understand this, but what I want the viewers to understand is the progressivism of today will always be regressive to them tomorrow. And in 10 years, she's right. She's meeting herself in 10 years. Well, what I'm doing is just systemic racism. And we're so limited in all the systems and all the things I do.
And the only way for her to get out of systemic racism is through a radical authoritarian agenda that puts her as the filter to be
won't get her out.
Whether
it won't get him out.
I just accidentally I think I've got Oldham here on the line about this last comment. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can bring him in.
While you're bringing him in,
right?
Data insufficient. Data insufficient.
Oh yeah. That's
data
Oldham.
insufficient.
That's Oldham saying that the data is insufficient. And I asked him, is that right?
Incorrect. Incorrect.
There it is.
What is he talking about?
Oldham is just saying it. Okay, so this thing here, sorry, that one died.
After hundreds of years of disenfranchisement.
Now this is an important. This is an important point because listen to her careful use of vocal inflection, where she tries to rile the troops. She's already said, I want a radical authoritarian agenda. Now she's inciting unrest by drawing the battle lines, the whites versus the disenfranchised. Now she's disturbing the peace of the community with her angry voice and her language.
Quick interjection here.
Yeah.
It's like a toddler throwing a temper tantrum. No one wins. She's not going to win with her authoritarian seat, even though that's what she's demanding. And the community won't either. Society won't. And so everyone loses by giving into their demands. So go ahead.
So here's the longest clip of the whole thing. We're about halfway through.
We hide behind the law, right? We hide behind policies.
She's talking about herself.
Which is the very classic definition of institutionalized racism. You create, you allow a culture to exist for years, for hundreds of years, that disenfranchises and dehumanizes people. Then you turn around and create a law and says, oh, we can't do that. And so now you use that same damn law to say, oh, well, we can't treat you any different. After hundreds of years of disenfranchisement, of being devalued, underestimated, and marginalized, then you turn around and use the law to say we can't do anything about it. That's institutionalized. That is systemic racism at its best. And that is what we're dealing with. That is what we're dealing with in this state and in this country.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I get her argument a little bit. You know what, or her appeal. I don't know if it's an argument.
Please try to bring anything positive, because I think
it's too illogical to be an argument. But her appeal, I think, is that, well, look, we had to deal with all of this race-based, anti-minority policy for centuries. Why not, for this island, have this kind of affirmative action? I don't know if she's even saying an island, but for a time, why not benefit from discrimination? Why not benefit from discriminating against the majority and allowing the minority to discriminate? I think is what she's saying. Well, it's inherently racist. I mean, there's all kinds of problems with that, but I think that's what she's saying.
Isn't that what looters do during a riot? I mean, it's a few just benefiting, from the majority society, and they get a free TV out of it.
Well, it is pure leftism. It's actually great. It's looting is completely consistent with redistribution of wealth and leftist ideology. That's why they have no problem. You can have a COVID crisis and everybody can riot and steal TVs, and that's okay, and burn down cities, because that's ultimately redistribution of wealth from the productive class to the less productive class, right? You're equalizing that difference between the haves and the have-nots. So no, leftists love looting.
So again, this is according to humanistic ethics. This is my point, because it's not according to any non-secular moral standard or code. It's according to today. It's okay to loot.
That's right.
People, according to
policy gets
ethics.
in the way of what I want now.
Well, so one of the strengths of leftism, and I make this mistake probably more than anyone I know. We debate with these people like it matters. It's like having a Socratic debate with, seriously, a 2-year-old throwing a tantrum. I mean, it's the problem is the
council chair, man. We have to debate her. Okay.
The 2-year-old throwing
He's in
the
charge
problem
of the white power structure. Gee,
the problem with this analogy is it's like like the 2-year-old. It's like a 2-year-old silverback gorilla. And then the thing is, that gorilla is a lot stronger than you, even though it's a lot less intelligent than you are. Yeah. And throwing the tantrum, I mean, we're kind of in this point where leftism has seized us with its powerful tendrils, right? It's silverback ape tendrils, and it has the power of superior marketing and superior emotional appeals. Now, put a superior product up against a product that is better marketed. Okay. And see who wins, right? Yeah. The superior, is the McDonald's hamburger the best hamburger in the history of the planet? No, but it is the most sold and consumed hamburger. So leftism is the perfect commercial political idea, ironically. And so our thing is, we have to use this intelligence that we're wasting our time with, making Socratic, logical, good faith efforts and arguing with them, because it doesn't matter to them. Notice, she has her cake and eats it too. Left always does, right? Well, I've got to control the system to eliminate racism, but the system will always be racist. All their appeals are like this. They're illogical. So waste your time.
Go ahead.
We have to use our resources to figuring out how to actually defeat them. And it's not by arguing with them. It's by getting votes, securing the election integrity, so our votes matter, and it's about forming policy. It's about winning, so then we get to decide the policy. It's not about debating with them.
I see your point. Okay, let's try to move on before Van, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say the tactic that works best with them, which was used during the communist scare of the 50s and 60s, was you go after the sympathizers, the people who are the enablers. And in our case right now, it's commercial media. And I'm talking local, statewide media, local media. They are the sympathizers.
Is it KMRG?
Oh, all of them.
You mean like the Frontier with Dylan Gunn?
All of them, yes. Because they're all enabling this. They're all giving them political cover. They're all telling us, when you turn on the news, not just what to think, they're telling you what to think about.
Well, I was supposed to mean a few hours ago, it said during the Nuremberg trials, members of the media were tried and executed as well.
Exactly. You got to go after academia. Absolutely have to go to academia. The big corporations who are, funding much of this. And then you've got to go after a number of things. The celebrities that are making this their cause celeb, you have to go after the sympathizers.
And like you like to say, Van, you got to make them pay a price.
Pay a price.
Hey,
Absolutely.
You guys are still tuned in to 3D Politics with me, your fine host, Tommy McKay, your verbal Viking, joining us a la carte, David Dambroso. All of a sudden, we're going to get back to him at the top of the hour, but we're going to slay the rest of this audio first because I worked hard on it. And David Van is also here, creator, curator of Sooner Politics. You guys take yourselves out. Let's see. I'm going to put you
Get your video button.
in the video. I put him in the waiting room, and take your video out, Van, and we're going to set it up at the top of the hour. Here we go, kiddies. You're listening to 3D Politics. The American Constitutional Republic, affairs of states in Oklahoma, the beliefs, principles, opinions, and views of people just like me. This is 3D Politics. Featuring me, your fine verbal Viking, Tommy McKay, right here, willing to take on all conversations. And joining us, as usual, every week, David Van, creator and curator of Sooner Politics,
right.
Expert on Oklahoma state government. Catch him at soonerpolitics.org. Special guest tonight, David Dambroso, a la carte. We're bringing him back in from the waiting room. Oh, no! I should have never sent him away. All right. So again, the Invisible Man. Maybe he thought maybe he's mad now.
Yeah. Well, he couldn't hear you, so I tried to text him.
All right. So that's all right. We're gonna. What we'll do is we will put him back in the rating room. And okay. So here we go. We're gonna listen more to Vanessa Hall Harper. David Dambroso, let us know when you're back. And here we go with more from Vanessa Hall Harper on KRMG. Morning News with Dan Potter, June 3rd this year. Here's more of that interview, second segment, I believe. Come on, play that, please, for me, sound engineer.
The lawsuit doesn't ask for cash reparations,
Dan Potter,
but it does ask for exemption from state and local taxes for Black Tulsans. Can you talk a little bit about that? Would that be one part of reparations? How would that work? Who would qualify? Can you shine any light on that?
I'll be perfectly honest with you, and I know people think that I am deeply involved with the lawsuit. I am not. Some of what you just said when you were doing the storyline before we started speaking again, a lot of that I heard for the first time. I have not had a chance to actually read the lawsuit in its entirety.
What is so funny about her being unprepared to speak towards the issue of reparations? Why is that funny that she doesn't know?
She's giggling out of her nervousness because she didn't want to be pinned down. Because if she's part of the lawsuit, then she has to step down from the city council. She can't sue herself. She cannot negotiate a settlement with herself.
So even though she's going to push the whole thing and she knows she agrees with reparations, she doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, but she doesn't want to discredit it or alienate herself from it. She wants it both ways.
So, but I mean, and still she is she's like, here in a second, we'll hear her go on about how she's going to support something without actually, she didn't support. She's going to support it without knowing what it is. Again, group association, and that's the only thing she's trying to do. Here's another clip. Vanessa Hall Harper, District 1, sitting council chair of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Play it, please.
So I'm hearing from from those in the community, what I hear on the news and those types of things. I will say this just generally. I support the Justice for Greenwood initiative. I support the lawsuit. I don't know the specifics.
So she literally knows nothing. She supports it for sure, generally. She knows she has no idea what it is. And she gets her information from, like the community and the news. So, I mean, here's this, again, this is the old trick from politicians in the past, Joe Biden, Obama. They're like, oh, I learned about it in the newspaper. Man, you are the sitting chair of the Tulsa City Council. You're supposed to know more. Okay, let's see what her next clip is. But she can't, like you say, Van, because she doesn't want to be implicated, correct?
I am not an attorney. Right. I am not a great legal mind like we have in Damario Solomon Simmons. So I'm going to just say that I support whatever because they are engaging with other legal minds and with the community. They are engaging with the community. And so that process is there. And if they feel that that is something that we need and there's a way to do it, I think there's a way to do it. So don't use that as an excuse.
Okay, so could you follow that, Van? Here's where she's talking about you can't use that this has never been done before as this idea of paying a group of people back has never been done before, and you can't use that as an excuse, she says. Now here's where she begins to disparage the 5 civilized tribes. And now that you've heard of a Native American?
Yeah, I am one.
Yeah, I'm a creative American, very creative. And I had a guy say when I told him I'm a creative American, he says, "What? You're an Indian?" And I said, "Do you know that?" And he says, "Yeah." And he asked me, he says, "Are you a dotted Indian or a feathered woo-woo Indian?" And I was like, it's literally. And so I said, "I'm a feathered woo-woo Indian." And he said, "How? How are you going to do it?" But the point is now, here she goes to disparage. Vanessa Hall Harper starts to talk about the tribal nations of the Native Americans. And she says somehow, again, with the authoritarian agenda, like they get to choose what their policies are. They get to choose who gets their goodies. Listen to this, how she tells us how the Native Americans have it better off than the blacks. And I wanted to bring this up when Dambroso, he said something about centuries of slavery. And again, with everybody throws this term around, because it's somebody, and she does on her thing for centuries. You use this law against us. How old is the United States? Two centuries. That's when you say this is like saying mass graves. You think they've just slung a bunch of bodies into a hole. No, you're finding coffins, which means there was some sort of proper burial. The mass graves, the connotation of the use of the term mass graves indicates piles of Jews in Nazi Holocaust.
Yeah.
Okay. And the use of the connotation of centuries of slavery indicates like thousands of years. When we're 150 years, it's literally outside the edge. Van, what do you got?
Oh yeah, it's the tribes got a deal, okay? And you know what? They fought for their deal, they negotiated a deal, and now they're sticking it to the man, okay?
They got a deal. Go ahead.
And at the same time, the blacks got a deal out of their freedom in Oklahoma from the tribes. But you know what? The tribes backed out largely on the deal they made with their former slaves, the freedmen, the Black Americans.
They tried to. They were held to court.
Yeah,
to pay.
I can't blame her for feeling a little bit jealousy over those government checks and the federal spending just for the tribes and the government checks. There's no doubt they get a good deal, and she wants that.
To conflate the experience of the American Indian with what she's claiming, who she's representing, the Black Africans that were shipped over here for slavery. There was no treaty. The reason that the Black freedmen got what they got from the Cherokees is because the Cherokees are civilized with a contract. They had a treaty with these people.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why they were able to carry it forward in the court of law.
Yeah.
All right. So okay, here she goes to disparage, in my opinion, the Creative Americans.
Mhm.
Let's see if I can get my sound guy here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The indigenous tribes of this country, they have certain, they're sovereign nations. And so they get policies and they get to be able to dictate and choose not only who is a part or who gets those benefits, but what those benefits are. And so there's certainly an example that this can be done and has been done in this country.
Van, please.
Well, the tribes are not sovereign nations any more than Gaza is a sovereign nation. They're just not
occupied.
Yeah, they're under occupation, oppression, just like the Holy Land in Christ's time was under Roman occupation. You know, deal with it. This world is controlled by conquest of physical force and in violent might.
The indigenous peoples of the Native Americans have a sovereign nation, not because they were given it. She says in this clip, they were given a sovereign. They were given, you know. But she goes on to pretend she lives in a world of radical authoritarian agenda. Okay, the way she does. But look what she's selling. She thinks that the tribal Indians have it good because they live in a socialist world, not represented by individuals, but by according to group association. And she's saying, see, group association can be done. We should do it for the blacks, which is totally antithetical to the whole idea of the individual being free of his pigment. I cannot believe this woman.
Tom, if you want guaranteed basic income, if you want guaranteed health care, especially maternity benefits, we already had that for the black people in southern United States, and the Democrats instituted. It was called living on the plantation. You know, it's called slavery. It's
she continues to sell a social group association for class. It's basically like India has a caste system. She wants to be the one that's in charge, like the white power structure. Of course, like a libertarian, we won't call it police and we won't call it power structure white. We'll call it the new wonderful reparations police, you know, but I mean, again, this is all socialist utopia. And this is, again, everybody thinks Tommy K is nuts for connecting the dots. There's no difference in Vanessa Hall Harper and her socialist utopia of reparations and Rex Lawhorn pushing his filterized minimal state to make sure that there's just enough aggression to stamp out all the people that need to be banished. It's ridiculous, Marxist, utopian bullcrap. Furthermore, we know that some demands are logically and legally unreasonable. Remember, CBS News learned that the Remember and Rise event was canceled, even though the demands were already met. They'd already signed the contract, but then in progressive form, I'll say it for Dambroso, staying true to their form, and they thought, oh, they'll never back up of a national televised, oh yeah, they will if you ask for $1 million instead of $100,000. Proving out once again, progressives are liars. You cannot make a deal or sign a contract with a progressive because it's never the end, which is a contract defines. It's always the first step for the progressive. Van, before the next clip, what do you got?
You said it all. Got nothing to add to that.
Let's see what we got. Is Dambroso coming back?
No, he didn't know that you were done with him.
Tribes of this country,
Here we go. Here's the next one.
Again, it's going to boil down to, are we going to do this for the black people in this country, the Africans who were enslaved and brought to this nation? Are we going to do that for them? Heretofore, that has not been the case. It's been a direct pushback on everything. Everything has been a fight. Any freedoms that we do have has been fought for, died for, bled for in a court system. And if we have gotten any fair treatment, it's been through litigation. And so that's just the history of this country.
And so here we go with her using fighting words: fight, fought, all of these bled, died. Okay. She's using fighting words after defining the battle lines, trying to create unrest, trying to get people in the Tulsa community angry about stuff. You're listening to the verbal Viking say anything he wants. Talking with David Van right there, creator and curator of SoonerPolitics.org. Missing David Oldham tonight, and somehow David Dambroso, our a la carte guest for the bottom of the hour, has disappeared as we go through 5 minutes of Vanessa Hall Harper.
Longest 5 minutes of my life, Tom.
I warned you. I warned you. Vanessa Hall Harper is pushing a radical authoritarian agenda. She's inciting unrest. She's causing friction in the social fabric, and she's undermining the rule of law and the judicial system. Let's see if my sound guy can finally roll the next piece of audio.
Again, it's going to boil down to, are we going to do this for the Black people?
All right, I already did that one. Next audio.
And so, I would say yes. How is that going to happen? I don't know. We got to get within government. We got to figure it out. And that's what I say constantly. Let's figure it out. No, it hasn't been done before, but we're going to figure it out.
Now, here's one of her battle cries. Figure it out is a thing she says probably at her rallies, because you can tell here in the next couple of clips, she goes, figure it out. And they probably go, yeah, you know. And so even though that's vague, it's like, I like clean water. Yeah, I like super clean water. Yeah. I like
you know the thing.
That thing, yeah. And isn't she a cute little 2-month-old? She looks almost 6.
She
with her
looks
legs
almost
crossed
like a young
that.
lady.
God,
Yeah, she looks like a grown young lady.
Crap before, but that bite is at the top of the heap. So she starts talking about here we go.
We didn't have a zoning policy that addressed the proliferation of dollar stores.
Now look at that one. The proliferation of
dollar no, we turned you back on and it was empty.
Instead of talking
Are you there?
about
let me let you in. Are you there?
Is he there?
Okay. That was Dambroso. He's coming back.
Okay, good. Woohoo! There he is. I'm sorry. I should have warned you. I think maybe I upset you. I don't know.
That's what happened.
I'm part of the creative American power structure. So
I was upset for a moment, but I'm calmed down now.
Come
I had to just walk
now.
away for a minute.
You've got to demand reparations, Dambroso.
All right. Here's
I do. I mean, I get paid back reparations every week when you guys broadcast. I mean,
I hate to be serious though, but look at what the implication is that we raped you, and to fix it, we're going to give you money. That is,
I mean, that's how you would
really
fix it.
low. Okay. That is really low. That's like Dan Potter's pimp roll payout. Sasha laid over and got 70.
You know, sit in a cage for a little while, pay a few bucks, right? That's atonement
like
for pretty much any crime.
It's like a freak show. You're a bearded woman. You sit here, we gawk at you, we'll give you $50.
That's right. And on for your next trip to the next town.
Sorry you missed some of this, but this is one of the shortest and most important Van, you can take a break if you have to. I told you, but it depends. Here's the thing. I know it's a joke. And if Oldham was here, he's like, you're the same age. I'm like, shut up. Listen to this. Listen to the insidious.
I have them. They're cool.
Listen to her push more radical authoritarian agenda subtly. Listen to her talk about what kind of policies she wants to invade the private sector. What does she say? She says,
we didn't have a zoning policy that addressed the proliferation of dollar stores.
We didn't have a zoning policy that addressed the proliferation of dollar stores. And I'm like, since when does the city council get involved in opening dollar stores? Anybody?
You know, cynically, you could almost say, right, that leftist policy is a solution in search of a problem. I mean, and it's guaranteed job security. I mean, they'll never run out of stuff for this lady to do for the council. They'll never run out of stuff to pay her to do, while benefiting no one but herself.
What problem does a dollar store create for her? Just don't shop there if you don't like it. They want the government to control them because they can't control themselves.
She's mad that there's not dollar stores where she wants them for her disenfranchised community of which she's in and out of. And
No, they were calling for a moratorium to not allow anymore because they're afraid they wouldn't get a big grocery store if there were too many dollar stores.
Again, back to my initial point about Vanessa Hall Harper pushing radical authoritarian agenda. It's anti-constitutional. She's literally wants to control where dollar stores do or don't go.
Right. Yep.
We have to get to what we're going to do about it. You know, what's the price she's going to pay? Are we going to mobilize some people?
Probably in about a half hour when we're done with the last 30 seconds.
But guess what? We're going to get around the table. We're going to bring in the attorneys. We're going to bring in the city planners. We're going to bring in whoever we need to bring in to figure it out.
Okay. Here is again, I continue to try to make the point here. She's inciting unrest. This is where she's calling in reinforcements. I told you she's used the language, fight, bleed, die. She's picked the battle lines, white power structure versus disenfranchised black and brown. And then she's agitated to say you're owed. And now she's telling us she's going to bring in the reinforcements.
But guess what? We're going to get around the table.
How
we're going to bring in the attorneys. We're going to bring in the city planners. We're going to bring in whoever we need to bring
anybody
in to
we
figure
need.
it out.
Anybody we need, which would include LGBTQ ? Plus would be even thugs. She might even bring in thugs because she said we're going to bring anybody we need, right?
Well, I mean, it makes sense, right? So they just, you know, leftism is just like picking something up and throwing it against the wall and seeing what sticks.
It's utilitarian rule. What it is like ends justifies the means. We're
So
going to do anything we have to. That's what.
Did
she
you
said.
know the George Floyd riots were actually caused by global warming? So it's always like something we don't like caused it. Something we've been pushing for would be the solution.
Last clip, and then we can move on. And I'll swear oh man, I'm gonna put you in the waiting room.
Bring it pot.
Here's the deal. In the final clip, Vanessa Hall Harper, sitting chair at the Tulsa City Council, District 1.
What's her name? My brain's trying to record who to vote for. Right back here.
The timing. Vanessa Hall Harper sitting. See how it works? I have to start the ramp. It's like Evel Knievel. I got to hit the ramp again a couple times now.
I don't know who she is. I'm voting for her.
Yeah. There's a lot of people. So here she violates the FCC by using profanity. And you know how I am about profanity. Oh my gosh.
You're very profane about it.
His virgin ears.
Curse the hell out of people who curse sometimes. So here she goes, but she is again agitating the community with her vocal intonation. As I said before, she's using the words fight, fought, blood, etc. Now she uses profanity on the air on a clear channel station, which is in violation of the FCC. And here she goes to send it off.
We figure out things when we in certain communities they figured out how they were going to make the gathering place happen, and they did it. And so let's figure this out. Let's prioritize the Black community and just figure this shit out.
No, not going to prioritize any community.
Figure this shit out, and then and of course
we will talk. Ben, we're going to hit a button right there.
Dan Potter had to hit a button.
46. You may need to hit another button there, Ben.
Yeah, Ben.
Temperature's warming up.
Ben is going to have to hit another button.
Yeah, it's warming up.
Yeah,
I was right. It was 30 years ago on Valentine's Day that we had a vote to change from our city commission. I think it was like 4 members plus the mayor was elected at large. All of them were elected at large. You had your police and fire commissioner, your water and sewer commissioner, your finance commissioner, and then you had your auditor, I think. You know, it was basically, and then the NAACP said, oh, we're going to sue you. This is a racist form of government. We got to go to city councils with districts. And I said, if we do that, you're going to have a bunch of race baiters. You know, there's always going to be at least 2 of them. And they're just going to make race. Everything's going to be about race because that's their agenda. And it's come to that. It took 30 years, but we are there, folks. And I'm telling you, Bob Dick, I was right. You were wrong.
Boom, there it is.
He was the police and fire commissioner 30
That's
years
right, Dick Bob. You heard it.
That is white on white mic drop, I believe is what
That's
they call
right.
that. Okay, Dambroso, you've been very patient, and I sent you out of the room. You didn't know how to play the game because I didn't tell you, and this is a trick I used. And so, but if you would tell us, please, David Dambroso, we're not going to rehash the past to figure out how we know you, but what are you doing now, and why are you here to tell us about it?
So we met about four and a half years ago. I'm just figuring out how to win. So, you know, kind of.
What are you doing now? That's the question, damn it.
It's important. So I'm doing political consulting, but really it's figuring out how to win, right? How to make these folks pay a price for what they're doing. Yeah. You know, we're endlessly, we would say, insulted intellectually by these people. And I mean, not as a matter of personal pride. I mean, it's just insulting to our existence, the existence of society. And so essentially, I am just figuring out ways on campaigns with software, any means possible, right, to get the competitive advantage and to enact our policy. Because ultimately, we can 1,000,000% prove the left wrong and humiliate them on programs like this all the time. And that is part of it. I mean, we have to start with what is the problem? But now that we've identified it, right, you know, certain people have to go after them. So functionally, that's what I do. You know, if people want to learn a little bit more about it, they can reach me on 4dag.org. I'm going to put, actually, it's so funny, working on a little Pac-Man game where Trump is a Pac-Man. It's like a waiting screen. He's eating like George Soros, Nancy Pelosi. You know, these rules for radicals, these things that Saul Alinsky spoke about, you know, they're tactics, most of which are not inherently immoral. But these tactics are more effective than what we've been using as conservatives. And, you know, I sometimes even wonder if there isn't a controlled opposition within the conservative party that causes us to always lose. You know, folks like Mitt Romney, folks that say, oh, no, you got to apologize for being right. You have to be polite and not call names. And it's done under this kind of like meek, sort of Christian, polite veneer. But it's not meek. It's not polite and it's not Christian. Jesus Christ, right, created a whip and yelled at people and threw their stuff out of the temple, and he called people names. Look it up. He called a woman a dog.
He wasn't a white supremacist, I'm sure.
You know, it was, well, you're right, Dambroso. That worked for a time when there was objectivity in the media. And now that there's not, it doesn't work. The Mitt Romneys, the John McCains, you know, the Jeb Bushes. Sorry, folks, your style doesn't work for today's
And I'll push back on that a little bit. It worked. I mean, you have a point. It worked much better in times past, but the rules for radicals tactics were always superior. You know,
I like what you said about, in fact, what I heard about the way you describe what you're doing lined up with the way I think Rhonda talked about what she's doing, and is essentially eat the elephant one bite at a time. Yeah. And isn't that what Rules for Radicals is on their side?
I really don't know about that aspect. I mean, you know, I think necessarily, right, if you're going to win, you've got to win incrementally. Generally, you do it bit by bit, step by step. I mean, you typically don't make one play and just win everything. I mean, I guess it's possible. I've not seen it. You know, they're really just talking about strongly in Rules for Radicals what tactics work. You know, we have this assumption as rational people that, you know, decisions are made largely rationally. No, there's an emotional appeal. People want to do something, they justify it on the back end, and it's so deceptive because your brain doesn't know when you've come up with a reason, when it's actually, you know, it's after you've decided you want to do something. So the thing is, Rules for Radicals and leftist tactic, it really communicates more to the action centers of the human experience.
Of my wife, I come up with an idea. I think we want to do this thing, and then I realize, hey, that was your idea.
Hey, I mean, look, you know, hyperlogical the male brain is prone to this. Oh, well, I'm gonna get more fuel economy in my truck, and so I'm gonna rip out, you know, the catalytic converter or something. And by the time you're done with this project, all the time and money that it's cost you, it would have been better just to leave the darn thing in there. And we do it all. We just justify, hey, you want to tinker on a project? Come on. There could be some practical value to it, but we're all like this. And the sooner we realize that these appeals actually work on us as conservatives, you know, I think the better off we'll be.
I think that's a good point. I mean, the reality that a lot of people miss from a psychological standpoint, people do what they want to do, even down to the purchasing.
And what does leftism say? You can do what you want to do. Name it, literally anything. Doesn't matter if it's contradictory to any set of values of the law. You can do it.
You're listening to the fantastic words of David Dambroso, and we're going to ask him to tell us once again where to find him and contact him. David Dambroso.
Fordag.org. You can send me an email over there. Obviously, you can just look for my name. It's 3 words, like Hoover Dam, Bro, and so. Just search for Dambroso on Facebook. You can do it on some other platforms that I need to be better, more diligent about marshaling, like Locals. I'm learning that one. I think I'm on MeWe through Dambroso. I was on Gab. Does that still exist? I know they took some servers down. And Parlor.
Now I think they've upgraded to MySpace. Stick around for 30 seconds here, and we're gonna bring you back here to talk more about.
I should go.
No, don't you?
No.
Dare.
Okay.
I learned my lesson last time.
Don't leave.
Wow. Now here I'll pretend like nobody can see. You're listening to 3D Politics. Stay tuned for more David Dambroso right here on Facebook Live. Starting soon in 5, 4, 3, 2. 3D Politics once again every Monday night. David Dambroso filling us in. So what are you doing on the field? You're wanting to win. Who are you winning for? You said you're out in the field.
Oh,
you're doing your stuff.
Man, too many people listen. There's actually there are campaigns I'm on NDA that I actually can't even tell you what campaigns I'm on. Doing some really exciting stuff. I'll tell you afterwards. If it works out and we win and some of the tactics win, maybe we'll write a book about it generically, how to win or conservatives. But part of the way that we win isn't just by adapting leftist tactics that are not inherently immoral. The tactics that are not inherently moral. I mean, so we can't just take up lying. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying, well, because leftists lie, we ought to lie. But it's the mindset's got to be.
Well, it's like simple entertainment. If I could fill a gap here, what I'm saying is one of my complaints about working, my joke has been working with the Republicans. I kept saying the word stage. Where's the stage? You got to have a stage. Like they don't speak the English, right? And then finally I said, okay, pick an area where nobody gets to walk. And they go, oh, okay. Because they don't understand basic show business and bringing pizza and a band to make sure if you're going to have your clan sit around to pick their leaders for 8 hours, you better have some finger food and some entertainment. The left knows this. The left knows how to bring John Legend in and Chrissy Teigen's forehead to show movies down on Greenwood because it's how big her forehead is. Okay, her forehead was brought to us by ancient aliens. And when I
called a 5-head.
Just telling you, her forehead has a 3rd finger. It is amazing. So, anyways, it's a thing about Chrissy Teigen. It's a giant head she has. Giant. I think it's alien, personally. But anyway, go ahead and save me, Van.
Well, yeah, Dambroso, this is a time when people are aligning things and making decisions. And I'm looking at 9 statewide races that are coming up next year. Some of them are open. Some of them are being contested. Some of them, I know that there is a hunt for, some alternative candidates to run against incumbents.
Like who? Well, write this down. Let me get my notepad.
Yeah, I know it.
Really?
The template overlay on this now is this corruption scandal that's going on that's already taken out Mike Hunter, our attorney general. And that's the top cop in the state. And now David Prater's rumored to be under suspicion. And now we've got a judge over there in David Prater's judicial district, Oklahoma City, that he's under investigation.
I'm told that Deborah Wempe, the new mayor of Broken Arrow, is under investigation.
I've heard things. Okay.
I was pleased to hear that Matt Gaetz is apparently heterosexual. That's
now.
But back to Dambroso's point. I think Dambroso's point was that the way to win, and I'm trying to agree with you, Dambroso, You've been contentious all night long. It is
Very-
entertainment. You win them in their hearts through making them feel like they're doing something they want to do, and it's fun.
Speaking
You
of
know,
that's
hearts
part of the
and
rules
their
for
minds.
radicals.
That's
Yeah.
oh really?
But
Yeah, a
the
good
last
tactic is one that your people enjoy.
I'm
Rules
still
for
on my
Okay,
old subject.
this is part of the way we went. Go ahead, Van.
Yeah, the other thing was very coincidentally, the state treasurer just said, I'm not up for re-election. I'm out of here as soon as I finish my term. And I think he's going to be happy with just finishing his term. So we are getting loaded up for next year, Dambroso. So I know you've got to be, in some backroom discussions, things.
Couple of them.
Obviously, you have things you can't talk about. But I think you can agree with me. This is a busy time, isn't it?
Hugely busy, and it's overwhelming, which is why you have to mobilize everyone. We've got to move. Turn your anger into action, okay?
Yes.
Don't burn down a city, although I don't have to tell conservatives that, right? A
Right.
conservative riot looks like January 6th. A couple of
Yes.
people broke a window. No law enforcement was injured or killed on that day, despite
Right.
fake media, which,
Yeah.
watch out, Nuremberg trials are coming for you, lying media, if it's found you were complicit in foreign interference in elections, plural,
Right.
16 and 20,
Yeah.
and if you were responsible for the death of tens of thousands with covering up effective treatments like ivermectin and potentially hydroxychloroquine in COVID-19. But that aside, there are a lot of elections to get involved with, and I want people to convert their anger into action. Find
Okay.
out, and that's part of what I'm working on. I'm working on software that will get people very incidentally, people that are not looking to help, but just
Right.
pull them
So
in
this
the
is
net,
kind
so
of
to
your-
speak,
this
that
is-
are
I'm sorry, but this is kind of your, I felt left out. This is kind of your expertise, though, Dambroso. This is kind of how I accidentally met you. Was your expertise is in the grassroots and kind of connecting the amoeba at the grassroots level to the little bit higher level up, to where they end up
Right.
knocking doors.
if
Right,
you
but-
want a positive a useful structure, a structure that can endure stress, that's robust, that can do things, you don't build from the top down, you build from the bottom up. And that's what I've done largely organically, from
Sure.
myself and putting others to do the lowest menial tasks on a campaign, which oftentimes are some of the most actually important and useful.
Yeah.
All the way up to the more glamorous things, the more glamorous level national figures. But you've got to really start and do well at the base. Otherwise, what do you have? And I think a lot of us in the Republican Party start. Well, I'll tell you one of my big pet peeves that is actually very important to the discussion. We are reactionary. It's one of the pejoratives that the left levies against us, but it's
Now,
true.
hold on. You say we. Who's we you talking about?
Conservatives, Republicans.
Okay.
We are reactionaries. I mean, it's an insult, but it's true. And what do I mean by that?
Yes.
We get outraged by something, and then we stop our productive work or continue it, right, in the private sector, paying for all the government stuff and paying for the 6 million non-military federal employees. We stop that or do it parallel with running for office over the course of 6 months, or, oh my gosh, if you're a record amount of time, a year, which, by the way, a year is not long enough even for a local race. You really need to aim for a bare bottom minimum of 18 months or 2 years if you want the highest probability of winning. Because there's all kinds of things you're gonna. But anyway, you just need the time. Just take
And
my
that's
word
true.
for it.
And the less money you have, the more time you need.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you've got to understand the left is going to outspend you because graft is their product. They have the money they stole from you to run against you. And they're going to use the media and large parts that you're paying for. It's a public media to run against you. So we are reactionary. We'll pick up oftentimes. I mean, the average conservative runs for like less than half of the time of a liberal. We've got so many folks that run for just 2 months. And then they're done because they said, I got to get back to work. I've got to stop burning the candle at both ends. I got to get back to paying these communists to oppress me, and they're done. Whereas leftists, they have a 10, 20-year plan. I heard one of these lefties recently that got into office here say that she had been planning her office for 20 years. And it's the truth. These were actually her friends stating this, and it's true.
I want to say it the way Dick Armey was here 27 years ago next month, okay? Or actually it was into this month. And I got a chance to talk to him over at ORU. Steve Largent had just won the primary outright for Congress. And Dick said this. He said, folks, there's two kinds of people that go to Washington. those who love freedom and those who love power. He said, really, those are the two kinds of people all across the United States. He said, the people who love power always have an advantage over people who love freedom, because people who love power get more power by taking away the freedom from the others. And we who love freedom are so busy enjoying our freedom, we're not organized in order to fight back.
And there's more money in it. I mean, there's more organized money in it. So we produce more efficiency. I might lower taxes and regulation, right? And I might increase the productive output of the economy of the state of Oklahoma by hundreds of millions of dollars. And I've saved the citizen, tens of millions, and I've produced hundreds of millions in product, right? And GDP, and then GDP that goes to the individual, right? Just profits, money. The thing is, that's not a, it should be a lobby, we the people, but it's not. Well, if I specifically get a subsidy to, let's say, wind or solar, now those folks are going to write a concentrated amount of money to me for maybe, millions of dollars are going to put behind me as a corrupt candidate in a PAC or something, or direct funding. So no, you're right. We have an inherent disadvantage. So that's why we have to get more efficient and more intelligent. And we really have to purge the cancer from our party. And part of the cancer, the biggest part of it, is wrong thinking. And wrong thinking is we can continue to engage in inefficient tactics and it'll be fine. And when somehow we'll turn our defeats into victories. No, Trump's not perfect, but what we need to do looks a lot more like what Trump does. And name calling is very effective. Jesus Christ did it. And you may have heard of a guy named Donald Trump. He's been very effective in politics. He did it to great effect.
Just make slurs with Jesus.
Just make sure it's true.
Crooked Hillary.
And maybe don't overdo. Yeah, crooked Lion Ted, right?
What's
Lion Langford.
I think part of the issue also has to do with the nature of physics and reality. Freedom, individual freedom, is a more difficult concept to articulate than socialized, group power. It's real easy to say, look, the guy with the biggest stick rules. That's simple. I just said it. But in individual freedom with the filibuster, recognizing minority voice, that's a hard one to. It's a more
the guy with the biggest stick
discussion. The other thing I'll say before I set you off on another run is the idea that we are reactionary because we make a deal and we're done. It's because the progressives are liars and damn liars. Is because we said, look, I'll pay you $100 and we're done. Okay, we're done. I'm done. And I'm done because I'm a conservative. But the progressive is like, you know what? That should have been 150.
It's never enough.
I settled for 100. That guy took me. I thought you just
and we look at compromise as some kind of virtue as conservatives, when compromise means something else to us than it does to them.
I'm reactive because they are aggressive. We are sitting in our position and they attack. Gay marriage is not equal to just regular heterosexual sex. And then they're like, you're attacking me. No, all I'm doing is just standing my ground here.
They're just like Hamas. They'll put these minority groups and these weak groups, like the handicapped or a minority or something like this, in front of them as a human shield. And so they'll be gays. Well, you're being mean to gays. And they're just really shielding an ideology of progressivism that cares nothing about gays, that just as well will support Hamas or the PLO that throws gays off of buildings as it will. It's totally without principle. But the thing is, the compromise, we feel like it's merciful and reasonable, but many factors are going on. One thing is, in politics, our sides have fundamentally different values, the left and the right. And we think we're having a conversation, but we're not. We're talking at each other. We don't mean, when we say certain words, we don't mean what they mean. When we say fair, it's not fair to them. Fair is they get everything with no cost. To us, fair is more like what you would look up in a dictionary as the word compromise, which is why you notice we're always on the side of this is what the dictionary says. And they're like, well, no. And then they change it. And that's what they mean. So
did God really say don't eat?
What does that even mean?
Really say that?
I mean, it depends on what the definition of is.
Somebody put a quarter in Dambroso tonight, didn't they?
So, I'll tell you what it is. It's espresso, man. You can get some. This is my favorite kind of store espresso. Am I going to get money for this? Please be my lobby. So, The key, though, is one of these are things that we're passionate about. And that's another important thing, too. You know, we've got to find charismatic candidates. Hey, if we don't have one, that's fine. Just do all the other stuff better. But charisma helps you cover up not doing the other stuff, like Obama, right? No substance there. Tons of charisma. Kind of got him through with the structural advantages, systemic advantages he had in the media, and K4 through postdoctoral academia as structured society. That rabbit hole put away. What I wanted to say is compromise is not merciful. We think it is, because we're compromising with a toddler that's screaming and shrieking at us to play in the road and have us come and fetch them and play with them with blindfolds on the highway. And we think it's reasonable to say, okay, well, we won't play with you, toddler, on the highway. We'll just go over to a side street and play with you blindfolded in the middle of the road at night. It's not merciful to any party. That's what we have to realize. We're not doing them a favor. We're doing them a disservice by giving them, because we're actually hurting them and the people they claim to care for. Here's the perfect example. Great Society.
Tom,
right?
he's not going to stop.
I'm not. I'm going to pull out a 0.5 David Van on my filibuster here. I'm talking.
You're listening to the amazing oratory skills of David Dambroso. You're going to find out here in a few minutes how to get in touch with him. Also joining us every Monday night, David Van, creator, curator of SoonerPolitics.org. And I am your fine host, Tommy McKay. Find me at verbalviking.com. Go ahead, Dambroso.
This is more like a rant than oratory, but
that's why you're here.
It's stream of consciousness. Okay. So the deal is we're not doing them a favor. The great example of this analogy, right? The left, they're a screaming toddler that wants to play blindfolded and wants us to play with them in the middle of the road. We compromise with them. So that's what we think compromise is, kind of meeting halfway, something like that. They think compromise is, for them, we haven't compromised unless you did exactly what they wanted. And then furthermore, what they intended but couldn't articulate because they tend to do everything poorly and are rewarded for it because of their superior marketing and skills at making an appeal. So it's the Great Society. We kind of gave in a bit. You know, conservatives tend to give in. And we said, okay, well, we can have some of these compassionate welfare programs. We can have all this stuff. Well, what it really did, so you know, what was the Great Society designed to do? What were these, you know, Lyndon Baines Johnson, 1960s?
LBJ's pimp roll payout.
Well, what was this great liberal?
Bent over and got $30.
Just like the liberals today, he's a big racist. He's a guy who said the N-word more than anyone else. And
better. I think he said it better. I think he had better inflection than almost anyone who said it. Also.
He had a good timbre, and it's really true. He should be sampled for rap tracks.
Well,
he really should be.
If racist is what you're looking for, he did it, you know.
So, but this has never changed. As another aside, Biden is a huge racist whose 1994 crime bill has put more blacks in shackles than the progenitor of the Democratic Party today, the Democratic Party of the 1860s did. So this is what, so it's proposed to help blacks, right? This big old welfare program. What did it do? It put blacks on a bigger, deadlier plantation than Democrats had blacks on in the 1860s. You know, and this looks like all these urbanite areas where the murder rate has gone through the roof without stopping, poverty has gone through the roof, and progress has actually gone back in time. So this is what we get for compromising with the left. We end up playing with a blind toddler and blindfolding ourselves in the middle of the road and thinking it compassionate.
I told you.
I think I've got. Go ahead, Van. Because
no, I'm done. Let's call it a night.
So Dambroso, in order to try to help you, first of all, let everybody know again where they can find you, but say it this time like you mean it.
4dag.org. That's the number 4. You know, the character 4, dag.org. I made it 4 letters, so you know it's easy to find.
You know, a website is a lot like a joke. You know, if you have to explain it, it's a bad website.
It probably is one. I mean, I came up with it. So I'm not a website designer.
Well, exactly. You're smarter than that. You hire people. So here's the deal: to win. Back to your point. How do we win? How do the right idea? Your wrong thinking is the trouble. What is the problem? How do we win? We've identified maybe 5. Just a minute, Dambroso. The first thing is we got to entertain these efforts. That's EFFERS. We have to entertain them. They have to be entertained, regardless of whether doesn't matter what level, high, low, medium. If you cannot say to the people, hey, you'll have fun. You're gonna have fun. You're gonna have a good time. You can't tell them you're going to have a good time. They will never date you. The second thing is we have to be prepared to explain the difficult reality, the difficult explanations. I ran the comedy troupe for 5 years. Everywhere I went passing out flyers, they said, well, be funny right now. Say something funny. So I realized, holy crap, if I'm a comedian, I better say something funny. So I told all my performers, I said, when we go on a flyer distribution, be ready to be funny now. And so for these Republican people who are conservatives, be ready with practice, terminology, and speech to not only be entertaining, but explain the difficult position that individual ownership is better than collective ownership. And the reason that it's a benefit to own up to the difficult discussion is because doing something difficult is where you actually get your self-esteem. Joining a group like a bunch of sheep or lemmings doesn't get you any self-esteem. Doing something difficult by learning how to be an individual capitalist, that's more difficult. And the value is learning to do it because you'll get a self-esteem. The last thing is we've got to not sit down and be reactionary. We've got to move forward with these concepts I just said. We've got to take the complicated discussion ahead as an advance instead of waiting for them to screw us over with the river tax and say, hey, wait a minute, no damn river tax. Yeah, well, not again.
It looks like action is what you're saying. It's
all
action.
right, I'm done. So there's 5 right there. 4. The way I count it, it could be either way.
So 4DAG stands for 4D Action Group, right?
Okay,
4D.
now we're talking like you need.
So you got to take action. You know, talk is cool to start out with ideas, but that talk has to at some point convert to action or it's completely worthless. And there are so many tactics, but you know, we hit on some. I'll hit on one more that is just a huge pet peeve of mine. It's so wrong, just emphatically. We tend to demonize cancel culture and whine about it. We whine about it like leftists whine about oppression or something. No, you cancel what you don't like. The left gets it. They don't like you. They cancel you. Now, some of the tactics they use, we might not use, but a boycott, totally reasonable tactic. We do it occasionally, but we don't really do it as much as the left. And there are other ways to cancel, right? You want to end abortion? Cancel abortionists. How do you do it? Figure it out. It's creative. Take action. So that's the point. We have to embrace some of these things. You come against people, you make fun of them, you humiliate them. Humiliating someone is more effective than an argument ever will be. People get riffs better than they get Socratic debate. I'll say that again. People get riffs better than they do you know, really dense philosophical content. Imagine that. Two,
I do
you know,
both, by the way.
What?
I do both, by the way.
You do both? Yeah. Hey, look, I love the nerd stuff. It's just not very effective. I'm the biggest wonk, you know, not ever, but I'm pretty wonky, and that stuff doesn't win elections. It's why we have the election, but we get it backwards. We think everyone's going to be interested in why we want to win an election. They're not. They're interested in, and this is also key. This is not in Rules for Radicals, but which go read it. Saul Alinsky, and he dedicates it to his god, Satan. But the tactics are very sound where they're not inherently immoral, like lying. Don't lie. Don't misrepresent the truth. He does that, but there's certain tactics like making fun of people. We just established the Lord Jesus Christ did it. So it's okay to do as a Christian. You went into something very important too, Tom. You said always have an answer. Well, that's very biblical too. We should always have an answer for the hope of Christianity. We should have an answer for the hope of conservatism, which conforms to Christianity, unlike leftism, which is an ideology of covetousness. And it's hilarious too, on this very brief rabbit hole, that Marx just wouldn't shut up about money. You notice that? Marx and the leftists, they're obsessed with money. It's all covetousness and what the rich have. They're not concerned at all with making others better off. Really. I mean, they are in theory, but they never are in practice. But practically, when you ask a leftist, right, you ask, this is Pew Research, right, a bunch of far leftists, people who self-identify as to the left of center, so not center left, but far left, okay, would you rather there be and I mentioned this before, everyone better off in absolute terms, the poor, the rich, the middle class, better off in absolute terms, You know, you mean like living longer, having more money, et cetera, having more freedom.
Right.
Or would you rather everyone be worse off, have less money, not live as long, have less access to products and services, but be closer together socioeconomically? What do you think the majority of far leftists said?
What do they say?
They'd rather people be far closer and have less of a gap in socioeconomic status than everyone being higher, living longer, having more money, having more access to service.
Yeah.
So they don't even really care. So you know, going on this whole rabbit trail, yes, we should give an answer. No, the leftists don't even do what they claim to do, but we have to be willing to take the tactics that are not inherently immoral and use them against the left. And part of that is cancel culture. You have to be willing to cancel what your opponent's doing that you don't like.
Well, I think you bring up a good point. I say it comedically, but I mean, the idea of cancel culture is held up in the joke of, if you can't shame a slut, who can't you shame? I mean, you know, the idea of a slut is to be shamed. Things that are immoral are to be shamed. The idea of boycotting things that are evil, you are supposed to boycott things that are evil. It's a correct discrimination technique.
And they're really smart. And this is one of them infinite ways. Maybe, Van, you could come up with an example too. So be thinking of this when I bring it up. They know that we're not bullies, they're bullies. We like to inherently defend the weak, the little guy. Who is the little guy? It's the individual against a group. It's why a Republican form of government protects individual rights. And that covers minorities too. The smallest minority is always the individual. So they know, since we're not bullies and they're bullies, they will still use it against us, while cynically understanding that they don't care anything about our values, but they'll have a facsimile of them. So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
So they'll say, do not shame this individual, even though they are responsible for their own, perhaps, demise in some sense, their own conundrum. Do not shame them, because therefore you're bullying. And that will hit us a little bit. Wait a minute. Yeah, they are kind of down. Am I just kicking someone while they're down?
Right.
Well, we tend to take a more holistic, you know, all-encompassing approach. I'm gonna make fun of you a little bit and say, yeah, you dumped water in your gas tank. That was really dumb. Look at my car. Listen to my engine revving. See, it still turns over because I don't put water in it. And then we're gonna help you fix it. The left, they're just malicious and they're not gonna help you with anything. So that's the difference. I'll make fun of you, then we're gonna fix it. Oh, Baltimore, you're really messed up. Well, I will fix it. Well, we will fix it. We will use conservative form. So here's what they do. So they say, don't make fun of the victim. You're being a bully. And so they're holding, right, they're using this minority, or this underclass, this disadvantaged individual as a shield against their ideology.
Yeah.
Do you see other ways they do this?
No, it's the victim card. The victim card. The most powerful person in the room is a person who can claim victimhood.
Especially in the left.
Yeah, and that's only if we buy shame from them. And the right buys shame wholesale.
Yes, we buy into their arguments inherently. Yeah. And I'll have to think of, you know, this is something that, you know, we all have to think. Because
we want to be reasonable, and we think we can reason with them, just like the toddler that you talked about. And I know your dad, your youngest, is about to turn 2, and I'll bet she's already showing signs of being the 2-year-old.
1 month. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might hear her screaming already in the background. Yeah. But it's true. It's not merciful. And you look at children of that discipline that have all these drug disorders, that are in trouble with the law, and you look at their parents that just give them everything and never punish them. Sure. Then you look at, they don't want to do the difficult thing, right? The corporal punishment. Spare the rod, spoil the child. That's the Bible. That's absolute truth. That's empirical truth. That's the basis of good science. Test.
Oh, no. That's racist.
Things.
That's racist. That's racist. Yeah.
So, gentlemen, we've got to get ready to wind it up.
Don't talk about
we do.
So much.
I'm being threatened by the clock, but I think what you're talking about, Dambroso, when I deal with my children and I say, you know, this and this and this, and they say, you're mean, you're being a bully, right?
Maybe.
What I've found is that truth is brutal. I'm not really mean. When I reference truth, people say you're mean. I'm like, I'm not mean. This is back to your analogy, Dambroso. You said, we will make fun of you for putting water in your car, and then we'll help you. This is us referencing the reality. We're like, man, wow.
We're not malicious.
Smart.
Whereas
ahead.
they're malicious. They want to destroy you and then laugh as you're destroyed. They'll cancel you and then laugh that you're poor. They every time on Twitter a conservative dies, they're laughing, and that's the whole joke.
Okay,
we're not laughing at them because we're
Van,
happy they're hurt. We want to help them.
Let me tell you, what I see just got birthed tonight was a new podcast called Dambroso on Espresso.
Yeah, that's actually just my regular podcast, because the trick is you don't have to sleep if you replace your blood with this stuff.
Yeah.
It's called caffeine.
I once worked for a guy who was bipolar and believed that too. Yes, it was hell.
And he was right, objectively.
Get me out of here, Tom.
All I know is that I'm in charge of the voices in my head, all of them.
Yeah.
And if you just wait 2 seconds, you've been listening once again, and here we are closing it out for another fine episode. Dambroso, David Dambroso, we appreciate all the stuff that you do to help us win on the right side of issues. One more time where they can find you.
4dactiongroup.org. That's 4dag.org.
There we go. We're going to take him out. Dambroso, thanks for being here. We appreciate it very much.
Anytime, guys.
David Van, thanks once again for hanging in there. I told you, I warned you. I warned you we'd go all night long with that.
All right, man.
All right, Van. We'll see you later.
I'll talk to you later. Have a good night.
All right. And we are out of here with 3D Politics. We'll see you again next week with David Van, David Oldham, Tommy McKay, the Verbal Viking. 3D Politics.